Thank you so much, everyone. Moving ahead, our next panel discussion is on the topic moving gold monetization onto the blockchain. For that, I would like to invite our moderator, Rajesh Sinha, partner Inokmate Ventures LLP, and our speakers, Mr. Amol Bansal, founder and CEO of MyGold, Vishal Gajjar, Senior Vice President, National Securities Depository Limited NSDL, Mr. Manohar Gregat, SVP Country Head India Liminal Custody. And we have three panelists joining us virtually today. Ms. Ritika Patni, Head Singapore Office NDA Lead Global Strategic Legal Consulting, Nishit Desai Associates, Hiren Chandaria, MD, Middle East and Asia Operations Monetary Metals and Company, and Harshit Gupta, Head Digital Consumer Business, MMTC PAMP India Limited. A big round of applause. We'll just take some time for the technical arrangements to be done for the speakers who are joining us virtually. Mr. Gupta, can you hear us?
Yeah, very well, I can hear you.
Can we please have Mr. Gupta on screen? Mr. Gupta, can you hear us clearly?
Yeah, I can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Bombay Chamber of Commerce, for the opportunity here. Now, I know we are running against the time, so I will not take a lot of time. I would just start with a basic thing. We have, I think last session was pretty engaging, and we had all the regulators in the room. So what's missing here is an entrepreneur gene. If you see today as MCX as one of the largest commodity exchanges in India, there was a lot of entrepreneurial energy put behind it. Okay? As technologies change, there are new businesses that are built up. And monetization of idle assets is not a new business model. Uber, Airbnb. Now, new technologies makes this possible. So if you looked at exchanges coming in because of certain technological evolution, blockchain has been, again, a small baby trying to grow in various places, while cryptocurrencies is where it has seen some of the traction. Asset tokenization has taken a central stage of late. Gold is not an alien to it. So today, amongst the esteemed panelists, we have all the players who have made a significant contribution in the gold monetization. So we are going to discuss the basic aspects, whether tokenization is the key, will it lead to the next revolution, and can it create the next big opportunity for monetizing the idle gold that's sitting in India. By an estimate, if you see 3,671 metric ton, that is the total fresh mined gold every year, India has more than 9 years equivalent of it. So I will start with Mr. Amol Bansal, who has been a practitioner for it. So maybe would you like to share whether it will be tokenization or any other technology, and what do you think about it, the future of gold monetization is likely in India?
So again, thank you very much for having me here. So Rajeshji, there are three issues that we are talking about today, right? One is we all are talking about mobilization of gold, and then we are talking about how to bring it through tokenization and how to actually get that tokenization to give financial independence to the owner of the gold. Now, tokenization is a great asset to have, but tokenization can be a great trust factor, but tokenization cannot be the only implementation for mobilization of gold. Why? Because today, even today, there are limitations to tokenization. When we talk about hyperledgers, when we talk about major transactions where you need control of gold for the owner as well as transactional value, these are not correlated, and it becomes a little difficult based on 100% tokenization of gold. Yes, it can be a great feature if you're supposed to store your gold at some place, give it to, say, SEBI or to RBI or to a bank and say, tokenize this gold. It can be a great function for that. But to control the whole history on an hyperledger for a person, say, I have 100 grams of gold and I want to track that overall and also get flexibility for 24/7 access. Now that is still a problem. So yes, you're right. There is a lot of digitalization that is still required, that is still needed, and there is a huge future for that. But I am not very sure that 100% tokenization can bring in the trust in gold that we need today in India.
Thank you. I would move to an international panelist here, Hiren, who is joining us from London, UK. So Hiren, you have heard what Amol has said. You have an international experience where you have done a lot. Monetary Metals is one of the leading authorities through blockchain technology in this. So would you like to share your views on this?
Hi, Rajesh. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. It's a great pleasure. Okay. So see, blockchain as a technology was designed for digital native assets like Bitcoin, right? The advantage of blockchain is it's a decentralized system. Now, if I may ask the audience, how many of us don't trust the existing system in digital gold? I mean, is anybody worried that we do not have the gold which is backed by ETF or any digital token, right, which has some bit of regulatory form in India? I would say that there is hardly anybody who would doubt that. SEBI has done an excellent work in that regards in terms of doing annual audits, designing the ETF overall, the mechanisms. So that's quite good, right? Now, blockchain as a technology is very, very important, probably in chain of custody, where the gold bar was mined or after it's refined till the point of time it's staying today. So what has been the chain of custody, where it was lying with vault, what was the serial number, what is the purity? That is where I believe blockchain as a technology is very, very useful. But the bigger question is blockchain required to build trust in the system in India right now? I don't think that is something which is missing in the Indian system. As long as the players are legitimate, as long as the players are decent size and there is some form of self-regulatory body or a regulatory body governing that, I'm not worried about that. The bigger question is that how can we monetize gold, tokenize gold, and financialize gold? These are the three main topics. And if you look at it, we have around 25,000 tons to 35,000 tons of gold lying with Indian households and temples, and that constitutes to around $4 trillion worth of 4 trillions worth, and that is equivalent to the Indian economy. And the last monetization scheme was able to monetize around 39 tons of gold, that is 0.1 to 0.2%. So we need to introspect and ask ourselves why that was so and how we can make it better. So summarize the discussion, it's like blockchain is a technology which we can use Tokenization is already happening in India in some form or the other in quite a decent way. I don't think so that is required, but yes, it can be an enabler for the custody, chain of custody for the gold. We need to find solutions which builds trust in the system, and that would help us monetize the tokenized gold.
Thank you. Now, I wish we had a Gati Shakti, something that really accelerated the infrastructure development in the country. Central government really coordinated all of it. Going by the discussion we had in the previous panel, very enlightening, but definitely the requirement where all can come together and create an environment where entrepreneurs can create a pan-India monetization kind of a stuff. Now, I will go to Manhar. Now, Manhar, you have liminal custody is into this. How do you see that tokenization can really help in terms of financialization of the gold?
So, see, we look at this primitive very differently. We come from the blockchain space. We come from the world of blockchain, and today we operate in markets which are regulated and which actually provide licenses to businesses like us to keep custody of not just gold, but digital assets and what we've also seen as stable coins, etc. If you look at them fundamentally, they're all very similar to what we are trying to do in the gold space. Okay, if you look at stable coins, we are seeing massive amounts of transactions happening on stable coins which have surpassed the likes of Visa and MasterCard also. Trillions of dollars. What's actually happening there? They've basically taken cash or cash reserves, locked them, and then they've tokenized those reserves, created these digital tokens of dollars, and then those dollars are now in circulation. Okay, there was a very good use case for this because people could use dollars for payments, cross-border payments, merchants could accept these payments, etc. And boom, we've seen that adoption skyrocket. If you were to try and put this into perspective for gold, I think Mr. Hiren mentioned that blockchain is a great enabler for the chain of custody. I think it does not have to stop at just the supply chain. Even when it comes to the final ownership of the gold, that token can actually be a very good chain of custody kind of a tracker for who's the actual owner of the gold at this point of time. This takes away one of the very important aspects of one challenge that remains at the trading and the infrastructure whenever exchanges are happening, which is trust. Okay. We've seen the previous innovation. I've been hearing, some wonderful panelists talk about how innovation really brought in and unlocked. If you look at what Tanishq really did, they basically addressed trust, right? And they unlocked consumer trust by bringing in those spectrometers, that innovation. Today, if I hold a token and that actually tells me that this is gold ownership that can actually be redeemed at these specified vaults, and I can actually go and get my gold back, then the movement becomes far more easier. And just by virtue of a decentralized blockchain ledger settling that token into my wallet, it gives me immense. This is something that all of us agree. Blockchain has solved for this. Once a transaction is done on this immutable ledger, it is actually immutable. You cannot reverse it, right? It's a settlement finality and it's a guarantee. So I think that's the perspective that blockchain brings into gold tokenization. And I think it's important that we look at that quality and then build on top of it. Of course, a lot of infrastructure also has to be built around this, but that is something that we are anyway, collectively working on. But I think one thing that I would want to sort of point out here is that we need to sort of open up and probably look at it in that lens as well when we speak about blockchain.
Very well said. I think this has brought us to the trust factor, and gold, I would say it's faith. It's a step beyond trust as far as Indian consumers go. Now, Vishal has been part of a very, very important trust building institution, NSDL. So I would like to ask him, from a depository perspective, how important are data transparency, robust digital servicing infrastructure, important for implementing the blockchain-based gold monetization. A lot you can continue from where Manhar left.
Yeah.
So, first of all, thank you, Rajesh and Bombay Chamber of Commerce for having me to this panel discussion. Now, as you rightly said, and as our previous distinguished guests have highlighted, that in gold monetization, considering the current scenario, there are a lot of challenges. A lot of figures and facts we have placed on table. Now the question comes, what is the solution? I think Amol has also raised this issue. So as this is a mandate of this panel, one of the point which is very important is tokenization and monetization. So NSDL, we have a privilege due to a mandate given by our regulator SEBI to implement the actual tokenization and DLT framework in Indian financial market. So I like to share our implementation experience with all of you, that what we have done, we have implemented the DLT mechanism in issuance of debt securities. So wherein whenever the issuer issues the debt security, from that point of time till the maturity, burning of that particular token, as you said in the DLT parlance, it is monitored through a blockchain technology. So blockchain is one of the DLT mechanism itself. Now what is DLT? I just like to touch upon in a simple language, not in technical parlance, that DLT is a technology wherein you monitor the asset through a block of system, wherein the asset is captured from the inception of that issuance. Once the asset is issued, it is stored digitally in a way that any transaction which take place is immediately updated to all the stakeholders. Now stakeholder means herein, in case of gold, when we see the future down the line, the institution, the fintech company, the regulated entity, which is going to be the entity who is going to keep this gold, and the monitoring agency regulator, all will get the update of that particular change since issuance to the redemption. Now, digitization means it's a digital platform in DLT wherein the asset or the transactions are stored electronically, wherein each and every information passes immediately to all the stakeholders. It is a simple example if I take, if we are on in a classroom having notebook, each and every entry is updated in all the notebooks. If one of the student is absent, when he comes next day, the notebook will get updated. All have distributed ledger. All will maintain individual ledger of that transaction. It is not like our traditional system when there is a central server and data is stored there centrally. For example, Tally. No. It is a ledger-based technology which everyone is maintaining a copy of that ledger. So beauty of this system is that in future, once it is implemented, now we'll all come to how it can be implemented, a possible solution to that group can discuss. But as an implementation entity, whomsoever it does, I'm not talking about any of the MIA per se only, if it is done through the blockchain mechanism, the biggest advantage is tracking of the compliance which is required for a precious metal like gold, then real-time monitoring. Now Zenzi, if you see current scenario when the market is moving towards the online trading platform aggressively, we have seen implementation of equity market in decades. Then came the mutual fund, the slogan, mutual fund hai sahi hai. Now if you see recently, I have seen the ad on the Economic Times bond, OBBP platforms are coming with Sashakt hai. Similarly, I am looking after the gold industry also coming with some jargon or something, the last transformation asset in the portfolio of investor is gold, which I foresee. So to implement everything, an institution who implement the blockchain with the nitty-gritty, having all these features will have a benefit to the industry. And lastly, to conclude, forcing it in future, once the gold is converted into DLT platform, currently a lot of channel, as we have seen from distinguished panelists, that EGR is there, ETF is there, SGB is there, but they have fixed denominators. Okay, fixed lot of trading are there. But once DLT is implemented, it can be traded in fractions also. And each and every token can be tracked back by the gold which is kept on vault. So that will be the beauty of DLT once it is implemented from the perspective of technology.
Now, as we see, tokenization is being seen in terms of decentralized finance. And the whole hope, if I can say if hope is a strategy, is that there would be a time where through tokenization, each household, however small it may be, would be able to make gold productive, a productive usage of its gold. Essentially, they can loan it, they can possibly trade it, and they can get it back also. Now, in previous session, there was an enlightening discussion on the gold regulation, and we realized we are still working in silos. We have Ritika from Singapore joining us from Nishit Desai and Associates. Ritika, can you just throw light on, what are the guardrails required from the current regulation perspective so that this envisioning that India's household gold can really become a reality? Just for information, previous session really talked about, that SEBI looks at up to where there is securities. Okay. Somebody else looks at, for example, while they will regulate EGR, but e-gold they are not regulating. As far as household goes, these things need to be much more simpler. Okay. So as a legal, what is it that the guardrail that we need, and what are your views that, that can make it possible?
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you, everyone at Bombay Chamber of Commerce for having me. At Nishit Desai Associates, we often work at the intersection of regulation and emerging technology, and this is one of the most fascinating questions that we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, often with our clients. Before I sort of talk about the guardrails, I just want to kind of get everybody, in the room there to frame this entire problem slightly differently, right? We are kind of saying that blockchain, is a magnificent tool. It can do many things, but trust, we need to understand, is a legal construct, right? What do I mean by that? What makes a gram of tokenized gold genuinely trustworthy isn't, whether it's on blockchain, it's in EGR, it's an e-gold format, right? What really makes that trustworthy is what is the legal title structure? What is the custody framework? What is the insurance mandate? What is the insolvency ring fencing? And what is the redemption right behind it, right? We've heard many times today evening everybody say that, India is sitting on like 25,000 tons of household gold, which is perhaps idle capital if some people look at it that way. The question is not whether we can tokenize it. The question is whether we have the legal architecture that will make the holder, now whether that's a family in Maharashtra, it could be, a widow in Rajasthan. Can it make them confident that the gold that they have tokenized is truly theirs, right? That is what is important. Gold which is on blockchain, we have to remember, is just a record. The legal enforceability is what will make it a right? So the record, the blockchain will show you, for example, that you own 10 grams of gold. But the title that the title is what will give you legally enforceable right to demand the delivery of 10 grams of gold from a named custodian. That is insured to that value. It is ring-fenced from platform insolvency. So only this is what will give public the confidence that is needed to mobilize the household gold at scale, right? Legal ownership has to be the foundation, because you'll appreciate that without some of these pillars, a clear legal right, custodial separation, insurance mandate, insolvency ring fencing, a redemption enforceability, blockchain just becomes an extremely, it's a powerful transparency and audit layer. But for us to ensure that it is more than simply recording an unsecured claim, we need to have these sorts of legal guardrails that I just talked about, right? Every layer of the blockchain trust has to rest on legal clarity in terms of who owns that physical gold, who is the legal bailee, what happens if the platform becomes insolvent today. One thing that I would like everybody to think about is, India learned this slightly in a harder way in 2013, right? We remember the National Spot Exchange, where we had technology, we had brokers, we had an exchange platform. But what we really didn't have was the legal architecture, right? Physical commodities didn't exist. So 600 crores worth of investor money was locked overnight. So technology really didn't save anybody because the law hadn't been built. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thought I'd like to leave everybody with, because basically, legal certainty is very important. We need a clear statement that a blockchain recorded gold token is legal property right? What you said, there's a divide between EGR and e-gold today. We need a unified framework which closes that gap, right? We need also tax clarity, which will make household monetization genuinely attractive and not punitive. When it's ambiguous, whether there is capital gain, whether there is GST, people are sort of unwilling to come and participate in schemes like the gold monetization scheme. So we have the opportunity to really build the world's most robust tokenized gold ecosystem. And I'm sitting here in Singapore, I talk to clients in Switzerland, which are sort of one of the leading ecosystems for gold tokenization in the world today. But we need to build the law before we build the technology stack.
Yeah, Ritika, I think you made a great point. I would like to pick up the thread from where you started in terms of NSCL, what went wrong. One of the things you focused was on the legal architecture missing, I will go to Manhar and ask, he is the custodian. So there were three, I was leading the only surviving exchange, and that's the only exchange that I did. So what's important is you run a custodial service, right? So one of the other features, technology is not a proxy for trust per se, it's an enabler. We have seen, like Correct. She talked about it, and we have seen many such instances, right? So here, Manhar, you run a custodial service, and you also run a wallet, and you do quite a few things, right? So what do you think, in terms of what Ritika has talked about, how these things could be, can possibly be leveraged more to bring trust that would then in turn enable households to get onto this?
Sure. So, the best part is whatever Ritika has pointed out, I think a lot of that is very basic when it comes to, large financial infrastructure and you're trying to build markets, etc. And the good bit is this is already happening. It's just that we're looking at different asset classes. So in our case, for example, we're regulated in the UAE and, we're soon to get our license in the UAE. That licensing ensures that not just the technology side of things, where you have all the cyber security threats, where you have all the challenges around data, etc. But beyond that, on the operational side, on the risk management side, on the compliance side, what's happening with insurance, what's happening with your controls, operational controls, who has, so in this realm of blockchain wallets, there are basically, private keys and there are public addresses. There's a cryptography element of private and public key pairs. So it's very important to secure these private keys. Now, at an operational level for a large business, you cannot have one person holding these private keys. You need to delegate access and you need to provide some controls around who can access these keys. Your senior executives may be authorized to make transfers, right, in institutional structures. So who gets access to what keys, etc. So these frameworks already exist and they form a part of regulatory discussions and regulatory frameworks. There are regulators who step in and who've built out these protocols. I think that's the only missing layer here to sort of just tie everything together. We have the tech, we have the different intermediaries, we have the physical custodians, we have the digital asset custodians like us, the technology for creating or issuing these tokens. That also exists, but there has to be some law around the legal enforceability of these tokens. Can they actually be, like Ritika said, redeemed, or are they just an unsecured claim, a digital file lying in some wallet? So I think broadly it's the regulatory framework that needs to sort of come together.
Thank you. Now we are talking about trust and how to build it. If there is one name globally in gold refinery, that is PAM. We have Vishal, we have Harshit from PAM. Harshit, I would like to just ask this. Mr. Pramod Rao in his previous panel talked about a mechanism where you can convert a jewelry to ingot, ingot to EGR, and then, it can come back into the formal economy. From your perspective, what do you think needs to be done as MMTC PAMP so that, you could play a stellar role in terms of bringing this household gold into a productive usage? And what else you think needs to be done?
Thanks for having me, guys. So thanks for the panel, and thanks for Bombay Chamber of Commerce to have me here. In good to connect again, Amol. So I think as MTC PAMP, we've always seen that India doesn't have a gold demand problem. I mean, I think it was more to do with excess, which was always an issue, and which has been which we have been trying to address with a couple of other trusted players in India. So what we are trying to bring in, we are trying to bring in access, we are trying to bring in trust. We are also trying to see how technology could be a bridge to the overall ecosystem. Like what Amol said and everybody else also said, there's a lot of metal which lies in India. So it's also the productivity problem which comes into play, in India primarily. There's almost around 1,000 tons of metal lying, in the lockers doing nothing. It's just not contributing anything to the economic productivity of the country. So I think that actually is a problem which cannot be solved by a single institution. That's an industry-wide problem, or I would say not a problem, but an opportunity which could be addressed, right? We cannot really change the relationship which India has with gold, but I think what we can do that is to enhance it. My esteemed panelist mentioned about technology being an enabler, and of course I agree that is it. But still in India, to let somebody part with their possession is something which still is considered as a taboo, right? While you can have, omni-channel experience, you can have experience stores to have clients walk in, get their gold valued, get their XRF, testing done for their existing holdings. But, at the point in time when they're trying to, take a decision to let this be into the formal economy by either, through the GMS scheme or through the, physical leasing schemes, which, a couple of players provide, or, even a buyback for that matter, that decision just drops off. The user doesn't really take a decision to move further on it because they really don't want to get part with their existing holdings. So as MTC PAMP, we do have COCO stores pan India, and we do do a lot of buyback. But I think it's not alone that we can move the things around. It has to be the entire economy or overall players like BKS is trying to build an infrastructure. We also have a lot of other players who are trying to buy old gold and bringing some, merit to the system. So I think the entire industry has to move into building that trust, be it in form of, better communication of prices or standardization of prices for that matter, be it in terms of communication of the right purity, the kind of methodology utilized to ascertain that purity of the metal which has been brought to the store or brought to the center must be done. So I think in my view we are actually sitting in the intersection of three pillars in India. One of course is financialization, if I were to put it that way, wherein we can let users understand how their gold can behave as a financial asset and not a mere a sentimental product for them. Second, of course, comes monetization, wherein we can try and see how the gold can enter the formal economy and try to add value to, of course, that holder of metal as well as to the entire ecosystem which can consume domestic metal instead of importing it. And of course, third, how to bring all this together is through technology, wherein we can try to create a trust layer using custodians like NSDL and multiple other custodians who could try and bring it at scale and run this entire trust ecosystem at scale. So that's my whole point around it.
Thank you. I think we have a very short time left. Amongst us, we have one person who is working on a blockchain on gold monetization on international level. Amol is doing it in India, where his entity, he introduced us in previous session. They take deposits in gold and then give it back in gold, right? Now, I would have really loved to, Hiren, I would still give you a couple of minutes to explain how are you doing it practically on a blockchain. You just have 2 minutes and then we will move to question and answers.
So what we do is we enable people to convert their physical gold into digital gold, which is transferred into local London ecosystem, and that is leased out to jeweler. So basically, when you go to a jeweler shop, you typically, a small jeweler would have around 6 to 7 kg of gold lying with them. That is around 10.5 kg. Now that 10.5 crores worth of gold, Indian rupees, right? Now that 10.5 crores worth of gold is not 100% owned by them. It's technically leased out mostly by banks, right? Most of them. I mean, part of that gold is leased out by banks. Now what we are doing is we are substituting that bank with a retail person who can invest in or who can park his gold with a jeweler. We have built the whole ecosystem. We have asset assurance in place. We have, there are physical audits to jewelry shop where the gold is lying. And what we do is we basically value the gold which is lying in a jewelry store also as a collateral along with other mechanisms. And that is what helps us enable it. We have insurance, we have a backup insurance, and we use technology as a forefront. So everything that we do is designed on the back of digital gold platform, which we have created. And accounting software which we have developed is calculating that gold interest in the grammage of gold. That is how international it's done, though people see it in terms of monetary value. But if you look at it at the back end, the calculation happens in the grammage of gold, and we keep it very, very simple that you earn X percentage of gold. So if somebody parks 100 grams of gold with us, and if the lease rate is 4%, we pay him 4 grams of gold, not 4 grams equivalent of money. And that is how we make it happen. So that is what we, yeah.
Thank you, Hiren.
Sorry.
So we have run short of time. So in short, he is saying if you deposit gold, every year you will get more gold and not the money. Okay. I open for questions now. Has to be very, very crisp in terms of what question you want to ask. Yeah.
I request our participants, while you're asking the questions, please keep mic closer to your, when you are saying something, then only the panelists could hear what you're saying. Thank you so much.
Hello. You're able to hear me, right? Hello. Am I audible? Perfect. Thank you so much for an insightful discussion. I wanted to actually ask, within the tokenization, the whole ecosystem itself right now, we're talking about fractionalization as one of the benefits if we're able to tokenize gold. And other than that, we're talking about, faster settlements. But I also wanted to ask if, assume that a big portion or percentage of gold can be tokenized, what other financial products could be available in the ecosystem? Do we have any points of reference in other markets, both on a geography basis, for example, maybe in Singapore or in the US, and other assets that have already been tokenized to a great extent, maybe real estate in another market?
Yeah, I think you're talking about, did you get the question, what he's asking? Are you talking about, yeah?
I'm primarily talking about, are there more sophisticated financial market instruments that could be opened up if a huge percentage of gold is tokenized, other than what we already know about fractionalization of ownership?
So I'll try to answer if I understood correctly. So when you talk about blockchain, according to us in the gold industry, of my 30 years of experience and my last 5 years of trying to understand the gold, physical gold mobilization that is available in India, the opportunity. What I really feel is that the future of creating a trusted gold ecosystem, right? Tokenization can act as a ledger. It can be a digital ledger, right? But it cannot become the trust itself. The trust will come from operational, legal, and financial guidelines, insurance structures, the ecosystem with the right infrastructure that we have built. We have proven it, we have operational, because you understand, even today, like Manohar rightly said, there are a lot of complications even on a blockchain. For transparency, fine, your gold is logged onto the blockchain, but who holds the keys? Is it with you, or is it with me, or is it with SEBI? Who is it with is a question, right? So there are still a lot of limitations that come with digitalization. So digitalization blockchain can be a great digital ledger. It can be a source of truth, but it cannot be the whole truth.
If I can add there, so firstly, the first product that comes to mind is, what Paxos Gold, PAXG or XAUT. There are tokenized gold products trading globally, and they're doing significant volumes, about $170 billion worth of volumes last year, I believe. So that's happening. And the way they've done it is very interesting. They've married this tokenization concept of the blockchain, and they've taken the traditional security of the vaults. So they've partnered with the best vaults. They follow the LBMA gold delivery standards, and the redemption, etc., happens using the traditional infrastructure, which is already trusted, right? So Switzerland, all of those jurisdictions which are already doing very well on those counts. So that's a very good marriage. In terms of blockchain and tokenization, I think once you have the tokenized gold, blockchain, we've seen this play out in the blockchain ecosystem. Many products get developed on top of these primitives. That same thing can happen in gold as well. Just one very last point. I think one gentleman had raised a point about donations in gold, and can you then record the grammage at both ends, the receiver. So in this kind of a primitive, that can actually be pre-programmed, and the wallets can actually attest or make a live blockchain attestation as to how much of the grammage or how much of the fraction they've actually received, right? And that becomes an audit trail. So yeah.
So happy to, I did not, because I already spoken so much, I did not want to address that answer. But as of today, with MMTC, we are already doing this at temples. So we are allowing donors to donate directly in gold to the temples. Yes, so that's already started. It's already operational. At smaller temples, we have already started. And before the Ram Mandir fiasco happened, we were the first to introduce this to the management of Ram Mandir, that to prevent this exact scenario, we had proposed to them to bring about digital gold donations, as well as a transparent system to take gold into donations.
Nice.
Thanks Amol for this. कुछ बोलेंगे तो विवाद हो जाएगा. But yeah, having said that, globally PAMP group as well, we do have a tokenized product called as DGLD, called as digital gold, abbreviated for digital gold. DGLD runs out of our Geneva headquarters, and we do fairly decent volumes. Just to answer to that gentleman who asked a question about any other assets being tokenized, real estate tokenization is working really well in India, and I think that's the next thing which is coming up really well, including gold tokenization, which we are working with a couple of partners. Couple of new entrants in India have ventured into the soil, and they are trying to bring in a real world tokenization for real world assets. So that's the point. Thanks.
I just want to add, we work with clients globally and, outside of gold and real estate, which I think traditionally what you're seeing as assets commonly tokenized, we are seeing some very innovative opportunities, right? People are looking at, so if you think about it, what tokenization can give you is fractional ownership, like the gentleman who asked the question rightly said. It also gives you liquidity, right? Very quick liquidity. Of course, you need to have exchanges which have interoperability, which is a problem that the world is trying to solve for. But if you can solve for that, we're looking at people wanting to tokenize things like scientific IP. If you think about it, IP is often a very long gestation asset. If you can make it liquid during its life cycle, there's an opportunity there. We are looking at people who want to tokenize data centers. Everybody is thinking the next, gold mine is data centers, but, how do you make it available as an asset class to smaller investors, let's say, right? So very innovative structures that people are thinking if this technology, is able to fully come into force.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for taking my question, and I really appreciate you all. Just wanted to ask one thing, that one of the key things about tokenization and putting on blockchain, I realize, is tokenization specifically is the secondary market and liquidity, which is apart from other problems, which is one of the main things. Since you guys are very important part of this as a stakeholder into this, I wanted to ask how closer are you guys into implementing tokenization individually? I would like to put that question. And what is a timeline that you see by which India might be closer to having a real-time solution? Because the world is moving in that direction. If you look at Gulf, you look at other parts of the world, how closer are we? I want to get an individual quick response from every one of you. Thank you.
If I may add, yeah. So from regulatory perspective, this is very important. As you rightly raise, when it can be implemented. So as I said in my introductory remark, first we have implemented DLT as a pilot project in Indian financial market as a real use case for debt security. If you might have come across the news, recently SEBI chairman has announced that we are bringing the tokenization into corporate bond. So this is at very nascent stage, and yes, plans are there for further asset at the regulatory side, but based on the experience of one of the implementation, this can be implemented to other asset class. Now coming to the main point of gold, I think private fintech, and as Amol said, in different kind of products this has been implemented, but for implementing all over India as one product where there is backed by a regulatory backing is still under process, and we may foresee in near future.
Yeah, I can go next if that's okay.
Can I have a question with Vishal? So Vishal, I have a question.
Yeah.
So can blockchain be used to establish a transparent and auditable record of customer level allocation of underlying gold holdings in digital gold products, and could such a framework help address regulatory and investor protection concerns in the sector?
Can you speak loudly once again?
Can blockchain be used to establish a transparent and auditable record of customer level allocation of underlying gold holdings?
Yeah. So
Ritika was also mentioning this. I wanted to, and you had just mentioned that there are some regulatory lacunas. As of now, the work is in process. So from that perspective, from an investor or as a retailer, could this help us from a blockchain or a digital gold holding perspective?
So what I can say here in limited premises that implementation of blockchain for gold is very far currently in Indian context if we implement it from a regulatory standpoint. But to answer precisely your question, considering the other asset class, as I said, a corporate bond, that what happens into this system is that the asset is breaked into the pieces, into the blocks. For each block there is a unique code which is called as hash, and the subsequent transaction is related to the previous hash. So it is very difficult to manipulate that particular system, and even if a record is entered into the blockchain system, if you want to change it, a new transaction it need to be entered, which is being flown to all the ledger holders into the system. So investor would be one of the stakeholder. Say for example, if any point of time in future gold comes into the monetization form into the system, your cash, the statement, real-time statement, you will be able to see how much units you are handling or how much units you have from quantity or quality purpose, and that will be a real-time ledger available with everyone. Even regulator will be able to see it.
I have a follow-up question also.
Yeah.
I think my request would be, we have these panelists available here.
No, I have a question from Ritika. So just to follow up on this, how am I, as an investor, I am ring-fenced from an insolvency perspective? Suppose
Vishal is available. Can we do it just post this? He is available. We can do it, take it offline.
my question is to Ritika.
Okay.
So Ritika, from a platform perspective, how do we ring-fence an investor from an insolvency perspective if a platform is goes to insolvency? As an investor, what are my protections?
Ms. Patni, you are on mute.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so, for tokenized gold to be legally safe, right? What's really important, I think what we are seeing in clients we advise and structures we see, it's very important that three entities are legally separated, right? Who are they? The legal owner, who is the token holder, the custodian, which, could be any kind of a registered vault manager, right? The custodian, and then the platform issuer. They have to be separate. You collapse any two of them into the same entity and you have an insolvency protection problem, right? So the gold must be, we are also seeing in structures, for example, gold must be held in trust or SPV structure that is bankruptcy remote from platform liability. That is one way of, ensuring insolvency ring fencing. The other way that, we want to be able to achieve this is also through insurance mandates. So the physical gold must be insured against loss, theft, damage, with policy details ideally being publicly verifiable on chain, right? So if you're trying to solve for that insolvency problem, there are various structural, details that you can build into the business models of companies through which you can achieve this, right? Get that insolvency protection.
So just one word, trust structure. We typically work on a trust structure. The assets held with us, they're not on our balance sheets. They're held in ownership of the customer. You just have to ensure that you have that across not just the digital custodian, but also the physical custodian. That should take care of your concern.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I think for posterior time, we will stop. All of the panelists are available here. We can obviously discuss after this.
That was such an insightful discussion. A round of applause for our speakers. I now request Sandeep Khosla, our Director General, Bombay Chamber, to present mementos to our speakers as a token of appreciation. Starting with the moderator, Mr. Rajesh Sinha. Mr. Amol Bansal. Then we have Mr. Vishal Gajjar. And Mr. Manar Garhat. A big round of applause for our panelists. We also had three panelists joining us virtually, so our heartfelt thanks to them as well. We request our panelists to join us for the group photo. Thank you so much, everyone. As we reach the end of the session, I invite Mr. Sandeep Khosla, Director General, Bombay Chamber, to deliver the vote of thanks for today's conclave.
Thank you, Utkarsh. At Bombay Chamber, we keep on doing different things and look at topics sometimes which are before it becomes a trend. This is one of those. With Mr. Rao's help, earlier we had done some 3 sessions on SME REITs. Now we've taken up gold tokenization, monetization, and I'm sure as we go along in years to come, this will really take shape and become really entity which people would indulge in much more. My sincere thanks to our panelists, some of whom joined us virtually. To Mr. Rao, to Praveena, who had to leave earlier, to our sponsor, Liminal Custody, for supporting this venture, and to all of you who've come here. We are a 190-year chamber. Later in the evening today, we celebrate our 190th AGM. And in 190 years, the chamber has been at the forefront of driving all the change possible. Initially, in the initial years, Bombay Chamber set up each and every entity in especially Mumbai. We were instrumental in getting railways to India. We were instrumental in the Bombay Port Trust. We were a permanent member with a seat in Bombay Port Trust till 1976. We got the Postal Act done, and the many firsts which the chamber has done. So this gold tokenization is again an attempt to carry on the legacy of the chamber, which we've been doing for 190 years. And as we step into the next decade, the final decade of this century, I'm sure I would need the support and help of all of you here to keep on driving the agenda of the chamber. In case you're not a member of the chamber, please become a member. We do roughly 110, 120 such events every year, right from small roundtables with regulators in our office to large-scale formats like the shipping conference. This year we did shipbuilding, which the Prime Minister again. So whatever comes from the central government, we are the first ones to take it up. Shipbuilding is again something which the Prime Minister spoken about, and we did a big session, a full day session on shipbuilding. He spoken about gold. We done gold. So whatever comes from there next, we would be the first one to look at that. So thank you once again, and have a lovely evening. And see you soon when we do another edition of this thing. Thank you.
A humble request to all the participants, while you are moving out of this place, kindly carry your bags with yourself. We have our AGM after this event, so we need to prepare our venue for this. And the event is purely by invite only, so if any one of you have received the QR code from our office team, then only the participant would be allowed to enter the place. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening.